Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, President, Founder of GSD, Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. We believe at GSD that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities are not. Today, GSD has over 180 companies inside of GSD, and they represent 73 countries around the world. But today, we're going to be talking about Canada. We're talking with Lionel Gibbs, who's one of the top ag companies in Canada, specifically with a company called Solvet. So we're going to bring Lionel on board. So Lionel, how are you today?
I'm excellent, Gary. How are you?
So how has your upbringing in agriculture influenced your leadership style at AVL Solvet?
Well, that's a great question. I think the knowledge of being raised in a cattle ranch and the passion that produced after those animals, animal welfare, work ethic, it's helped me build a team and build a culture that supports that industry. We're on the same page.
Now, have you ever had Holstein cattle?
Yes.
And most people don't realize they look really nice, but just for the audience, now I grew up on a farm too in Pennsylvania. Those Holstein bulls aren't so friendly, are they?
They're very nasty, very dangerous.
My friend had one, and he had the bull in his barn, and it had cinder block walls on it. And he had some cows out there that went in heat, and this freaking bull went through the wall. To get at those cows out in the field. He couldn't believe it. Actually, knocked his wall, went through the wall. It was so upset. It was a very, very large Holstein, but beautiful animals. So when you were growing up, tell us a little bit about the work ethic. What time would you get up in the morning? What time did you go to bed?
The thing is, summer. Everything kind of melts. So you start off with operation where you're seeding early in the spring and May, long hours. You're up at 6, bed by midnight. And then it transitions into spring. In the meantime, you're having cows. All that happens at the same time. It's haying time. Cows go to grass. After haying time, you start in harvest. You're cutting the grain. Then you're bringing the cattle to wean the calves, combining, and then you're getting up, feeding every day, treating stuff. So it's an intense work schedule.
And what kind of initiatives have you implemented to drive Solvet's rapid global expansion? What are you doing to really turn it up?
Well, Solvet's a little bit unique in our approach. We're kind of multinational. That just brought products to market based on significant global research to say, hey, let's investigate monoclonal antibodies, cancer drugs, companion, lots of big ticket stuff. Where our been more in the name Solvet, solutions veterinarian, Solvet. So our approach is unique, more driven from grassroots. So veterinarians come to us, say, hey, this is an unmet we have. Can you go down this, make this product, and it's evolved morphed into an animal welfare pain management approach. So as you know, producers and consumers and like major food companies are requiring animals to be humane way chain, make sure that drugs are used. So we've kind of taken them, quite frankly, nationally, we've patented products that are very interesting globally, specifically in the large protein market, Argentina, Australia, EU, United States.
So can you share a pivotal moment, in your own career that's really shaped your approach to leadership, and specifically in animal health. So was there a moment, did you learn the leadership skills on the farm? Did you learn them in college? Did you learn them by work? How did you come up? I had a 4-star admiral on my show, then the former #2 guy in the U.S. military, and he told me one of the things that really helped him is empathy and compassion. He specifically said about Operation Desert Storm when he had the 6th Fleet that he was commanding, and his job was to send them off an aircraft carrier. And he said a tear came down my eye, and because I knew that 10% of them probably wouldn't come back, and I was the one who's going to have to write their wives and their husbands and their brothers and sisters and their family and tell them what happened. And he said it went up on the monitor inside of the ship, and the people saw it, and they understood that he cared, right? And so they cared in turn about him. Is it like that for where you are? Because then when you're on a farm, you got to work together, right? It's not like one person can do it. And is it like that in your company?
Very, very good questions. So yes, on the farm, it's your family, but also neighbors. So it's a rural atmosphere. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody goes to school together. You go to church together. You're sporting events together. So it's kind of like it takes a village to raise a family. I guess that's kind of what the farm atmosphere is like. Everybody helps everybody. In terms of empathy and compassion and what developed my leadership style, it's a little bit of everything. Played college basketball, had tennis basketball, so the team environment was a big part of my growing up. I coached high school ball for over 20 years in a small community that was very, very sports oriented. That helped me a lot. Coaching, developing people. And then I had a really great mentor when I was middle of my career. I spent a decade with Homegrown Health. And I went to a multinational company to run their large animal business in Canada. I had a lady by the name of Marassa that kind of molded me from a diamond in the rough to something that was more polished. I over to got me where I'm here today. In addition, working in the industry and the vet industry, very small community, you build very close relationships. And there's a lot of really high-level veterinarians that have been a part of my growth. You learn, telecycle, great people with like T. Jim, Alvin Burger, Canadian livestock veterinarians, Marty Metzger. All of those folks have had an impact on how I lead the group. And our culture is definitely that. Everybody has a voice. We're not top down. Everybody's part of this journey.
No, it sounds like, and that's great. The one thing about the Canadian companies we have in GSD is a lot of time they're very modest, right? And they don't get the word out like we do in Silicon Valley. And it's good and bad, but if you want to market, it's really difficult to get the attention on the global market. In fact, we say Silicon Valley is a port to the rest of the world because about half of the capital of the world is there. And if it's not physically located there, those investors come there looking for deal flow, right? The cutting edge. So some of the companies that we've worked with inside of GSD, one of them is has a cancer vaccine for pets, right? That reduces cancer by 40%, and they think it'll be as high as 80%. And this is just me thinking, right? But somebody like you, that's like in the middle, that's got those relationships. We have a number of companies like that inside of GSD, so ag tech companies that could have a profound impact. But the one thing they do is they don't have a channel to get it out. And I know, I built a cancer vaccine for my dog at a molecular level because she had stage 4 cancer. Now, using these advancements and things like AI, I'm just thinking through it. Imagine the possibilities of creating what you could really do now, right? You could have 1,000 times more power using the AI models like omni-channel engines and things like that to be able to dramatically increased. In fact, the Sam Altman said, there's a bet in the Valley is who's going to have the first $1 billion company with one employee. Seriously, I was like, I started the first generative AI company in 2016, 3 years before ChatGPT, and a little over 3 years before. And I remember going down through the journey. And of course, I had a billionaire partner working with me on it, but as my CTO. But we built this company, and I started looking at this is going to change everything. Think about how many permutations and combinations you can do for everything.
Absolutely. My stepson is on an internship with Google right now in California, and this is stuff that he's been telling me about. It's amazing. It's crazy.
I took 14 large language models and created a team, and I put it on the topic of global warming. It wrote me a 100-page paper. It came back and said, this is how to stop it. Now, this is a different kind of, the technology we're using is 6 months to a year ahead of where everybody is, for the most part, except Google research teams and Microsoft, etc. But the thing that was really amazing, and then it came back to me and said, Gary, there's one more thing. And I said, what's that? He said, this is how to reverse it. And it wrote me almost 90 more pages on how to reverse global warming. I didn't ask it to do that.
Wow.
And it cares about me. We say kind of like your grandmother has a love, unconditional love and positive regard, like your grandmother, empathy and compassion. So we started building models. I have a research company too, so when I'm talking about that, it's a research group in GSD. It's fascinating to me. And when I start looking at, we have to double the food supply by 2050 to feed everybody and can't increase the number of cattle because 26% of the pollution is methane gas from cows, right? So we got to figure out ways to be able to do things that are extraordinary that haven't been done before, and we've got to streamline our food cycle, right? All of it.
Absolutely. We're actually working with a company out of New Zealand, a ruminant biotech that has a solution for methane reduction in cows. So we're very excited about that. We're working on research with them with agriculture to launch this in North America. So.
That's very. That seems like, Lionel, that's the thing, right? If to have somebody like yourselves that's kind of like in the middle of it, and then use what you have and market you, right, and bring those tools and and I just thought this is just now, right? Thinking about it, imagine what the possibilities are wherever they are. I mean, if you could reduce cancer in a cow by 40 to 80%, they start off with dogs. Imagine what the possibilities are.
Absolutely. There's a lot of possibilities and they're created by how the industry is developing. For example, sex semen, which is a relatively new thing. Now, as you spoke about Holstein cows, they're pretty, but they're not necessarily a beef powerhouse in terms of performance. So now with sex semen, the producers can AI artificially inseminate their best cows to regular semen, and everything else gets a beef sex semen. And it opened up an entire industry for beef hunting, where they have large calf plants now. Take those calves, they raise them 350 pounds, and boom, they're in the into the food chain on the beef side, very high quality. They use genetics. They use every so all of that stuff has happened in the last few years. So it's a scenario where we keep large tracts last to beef.
Part of the challenge that companies have all over the world, including in Silicon Valley, is having the visibility, right? The contacts and connections to be able to put it together no matter where it is. You look at Africa, there's 1.1 billion people and 54 countries over there.
Yeah, exactly.
And, people forget it. In fact, Freddie, our mutual friend, introduced me to the wealthiest guy in Africa's brother, and I had dinner with him down in Florida, and I was astounded about, their family's been the number one investor in Africa for 170 years. Imagine what the possibilities are.
Yeah, and AI opens up a whole other options for us in terms of manufacturing efficiency, like I said, omnichannel approach marketing, message out. And for our company, now we're on the tip of the iceberg. we don't know, we're learning, but the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, we just took one of the companies inside of GSD and we put in some of the most sophisticated multi-agent, multi-modal large language models. So different modalities, multi-agent. You know, things like Bard, Claude. Claude can be 1,000 times faster mathematically than ChatGPT, right? And so when you start to put them as a team and use a think tank approach, it changes the dynamics because hallucinations go down. It's just like in your group, they start checking each other, fact checking, right? And that kind of approach is going to change things. And I can see it. I spoke twice at the UN about technology as a tool for peace. And one of the things I started thinking about is the food chain and, global warming and global cooling, the Meridional current, how that's going to impact us. So we better go down through and surgically laser focus our food chain or nothing good's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, if you look at it, how do you prioritize innovation while maintaining regulatory excellence and ensuring animal welfare?
Boy, that's an excellent question. So innovation in our industry is difficult because of the regulatory burdens. There's no question about that. Obviously, food safety. When we're creating drugs, things like that, there has to be a lot of work done that it doesn't get into the food chain. It doesn't affect human health. So human health studies are significant. Paramount piece that you have to have when you're innovating products. While they're great for animal, but all that doesn't work so well with humans. It gets into the meat or milk or anything like that. So the runway for a new product in animal health, we're looking at one in the U.S. market right now. It's $12 million of studies, human safety studies, environmental studies, and 5 years to get it registered. So not everybody has that kind of dollars to invest, or the patients get that done, or the expertise. So it's animal health is not a short-term thing; it's a long game.
So how do you balance the demands of global expansion with local regulatory requirements and market dynamics?
Every regulatory jurisdiction is different. The interesting thing for us is we have an MRA, or a mutual recognition agreement with the EU and Australia. So basically, build those in Canada. It's recognized in the regions. US is a bit different. We have to do it totally different. But every country has a different approach. And when you decide that you want to go global on some of these markets, you have to determine market size, regulatory burden, regulatory costs, and it kind of have to have wisdom of when to say no to and what to go down, because the investment to get a one pain product, one not soy to land regulatory drug with 60 countries is enormous. So it's like a thing all around, especially for the R side. Maybe we do it in five markets, get rolling and expand over time. More and more. Unfortunately, on the good and on the bad side, it means some markets will get access to some really interesting drugs just because of the cost and the burden right away. But on the side, when it's there, it's very safe. The regulatory agencies are very strict, so you can be assured when it comes to the market for health, it's safe.
So what strategy do you employ to foster a culture of innovation, continuous improvement within your team? How do you keep people, because it's tough. I mean, if you're in Calgary, if you're at Stanford University and you're listening, or Waterloo, and you're listening to about the tech and can deploy those things, it's great. But if you're not, it could take 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years before you even know it exists. And it could be late. And the way things are changing so quickly, you are at a competitive disadvantage because you don't know what you don't know.
That's another great question. I think that's kind of been the foundation of what Solvet created. We were created by a veterinarian wife. She's a detoxicologist. Dr. Mark Wilson, Merle Wilson, veterinarian. spent 25 years in academia and had a lot of patents. And one of the things frustrated was some of these animal health patents and research that never got commercialization. So they said, retiring. We want to get these to the market. So that's what developed solutions for veterinarians by West. And it's the passion that Merle and Bart have for animal welfare and research. That's what they live in. That's driven our, and it's created the culture. And people work for us quite proud that this small Canadian company is having an impact globally on pain management for the world. Like the goal of our founders is not to become a billionaire, to make sure that every single animal that he can get pain management globally happens.
No, that's fantastic. So, what advice would you give aspiring leaders that that you would have liked to have in the animal health industry, and so that they can make an impact?
I think the advice I would give is in the animal health industry, as you know, it's a long road, is not to get discouraged. And anything meaningful in our world takes a long time. Takes a lot of effort. Roadblocks. There's regulatory challenges, and it's the line from point A to point B is never straight. It's like this. But stay the course and keep focused. If you believe in it, if you find a way to get it through. And once you get it through, that's the thing. Once you go through all that regulatory challenges, research challenges, getting grants, approvals to research, hopefully Canada is very difficult. Is once you get into that road, there's a lot of goals that you can get in the rainbow. It's there obviously market access on a really good product. And actually that's in bringing something that improves not only animal lives but human.
No, that's great. Listen, we're coming to the top of the show, and then if you want to stay on for a few minutes afterwards, we can talk. But closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. Obviously, you can get a hold of us at solvet.com or our website. I hope they're easy to hold of me there. And so anything else, we are available or in attendance at a lot of these international shows. So we're the West Vet Big, or VX, Orlando, International, the Vet One. We're at all conferences that are made to our industry. And if there's interest, generally I or someone is going to come talk.
That sounds great. Lionel, thanks for taking time in your busy schedule to join us today. And thanks to all my audience for joining one more time. GSD presents Top Global Startups. My name's Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. We will be back again soon with another exciting edition. And thank you, everybody. We hit nearly 1.2 million views on the show, and it's all because of you. So if you like it, like and subscribe, and we'll be back again soon with another exciting edition. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.